point out that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I wonder how gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 553rd edition of Energy Week with George Harvey. I'm sorry, Tom, I've got to start the clock. Okay? Okay. So I'm starting over. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 553rd edition of Energy Week with George Harvey and the amazing Tom Fennell.
In the flesh.
In the flesh. In his home, which is fine. You know, it would be nice to see his smiling face here, but that's okay. We'll put up with the fact that he would rather be with his cat than with me, especially considering that the cat never waves goodbye. Maybe he will today. Okay, Tom. I should mention what we're doing here on Energy Week is reviewing a week's worth of news about energy and climate change and related subjects, which are recorded at my blog, geoharvey.com, geoharvey.com.
Well, it's 3 per day.
It's normally 3 per day, although next week won't be next week. It'll be the week after because the studio's closed for the week for Christmas. So we're going to be back on the 4th of January, and that will mean that we're going to do 1 or 2 a day for 14 days. So that's where we are. But for this week, it's 3 a day. And there's a couple of websites that you can go to. geoharvey.com is one of them. The other one, you can go down to a lower place on the page and click on a link and be taken there. Anyway, our first picture coming up is a wind turbine by Mingyang, which is in China, and we have a story from Electric, which is not. It's not spelled as electric; it's Electrek, with an E instead of an I as a 7, and it's different. But what do you have for title, Tom?
This new world's largest wind turbine makes power in severe typhoons.
Yeah. China's Mingyang Smart Energy rolled out the world's largest offshore wind turbine. Mingyang designed the MYSE 18X-20mm.
This is big.
This is a huge turbine. It will go 18 to 20 megawatts. One of these turbines would power Brattleboro. I presume, although it's an offshore wind turbine, you're not going to see it put up on Wentasket Mountain. Did you know, by the way, Tom, that Wentasket used to be called Rattlesnake Mountain?
Yes, I knew that.
Yeah. The purpose of this is to bring down the levelized cost of electricity and to ensure long-term returns. It has a modular, lightweight design with high efficiency and reliability. And on top of everything else, it is supposed to not just withstand, but generate electricity in the heaviest typhoons.
Well, this cell is 500 feet off the ground.
Yeah, well, and that picture, by the way, is not the wind turbine that they're talking about. It's a smaller wind turbine, which is also too big to put on Wentasket. So, what can we say? I mean, that wind turbine in the picture is, I think, 7 megawatts. So it's 40% or less, possibly, of the thing that they're talking about. So, should we continue, or do you have more?
Yes.
You can't dance. You've said that many times, Tom.
A nice picture of Doris Brown at home.
That's right.
Comes to us from stateline.org.
Yes. What do you have for title?
Solar energy and its cheaper bills are coming to more disadvantaged communities. Well, that's
Yeah. When a lightning storm knocked out power in Doris Brown's neighborhood, her solar-powered home suddenly became a refuge for frantic neighbors without electricity. Nonprofits had installed a solar system to make her house into a hub home.
they don't explain what a hub home is.
Well, you know, I looked into that a little, Tom, and basically what happens is the nonprofits that put the system up on her home
yeah,
basically did it for I think it might have been for free for her, but she had to promise to allow people to have electricity from her home in the case of a power outage. So if people need to have their cell phones charged, or if they need to come in some cases, in one storm, she actually opened the home, had people in, they were cooking there, they were eating there, in a couple of cases, they were taking showers there. And
fair enough.
that's what the hub home idea is. And
Enough.
I wanted to have this brought to everybody because I wanted them to understand the concept of the hub home, which is, I think, a good one. And you know, there's something else about this picture. I'll tell you about it. When I was little, and I'm talking about kindergarten, first grade, I had the idea that the wisest people in the world had gray hair.
Okay.
But the wiser people than they were, or a subset of them who were wiser, was people with white hair. And then one day I saw some black person with white hair. Now, the place where I lived in northern Illinois had almost no black people in it at all. I mean, almost every black person I'd ever seen was a person working on a railroad. And I came across these people who were black and had white hair, like Doris Brown. And I decided they must be the wisest people in the world, just because of that contrast. And I mentioned that to my daughter. Oh, I think she'd already got her master's degree in philosophy. And she said, "Dad, that's exactly right." The wisest people in the world are black people with white hair. So there you have it. Okay?
I didn't know that.
Well, I've told you. Now we have a picture of Jenny Uberberg.
Yeah, it looks like Jenny.
It sure does.
Comes to us from Clean Technical.
Yeah, it does.
And the title says, and I quote, "Electric vehicle prices get much closer to conventional vehicle power."
Yep,
Conventional vehicle prices, sorry about that.
that's okay. Most of a Cox update on the average sale prices of new cars just trends in the overall auto industry. But they decided to slip some big notes in regarding electric vehicles at the end. And they buried a huge gem in the very last line. It says, EV prices have fallen almost to those of traditional cars.
Well, they will actually eventually fall into the place where they're lower because they're cheaper to make.
The big hang up there is the price of the battery, and battery prices are going down. I forget the average rate, but it's about
drastically.
Yeah, it's about 13.5% per year, something like that.
Yeah,
And
well, we've talked about that.
Yeah, and this thing called Wright's Law, which basically says that once you've established that the price of a new technology is going down at a certain rate, and the rate is not in terms of time, it's in terms of the numbers of units that have been sold or something analogous to that, the price will keep going down at that rate indefinitely. And if you look in Wikipedia, you can look at articles that talk about this. It's called the knowledge curve, or the learning curve. And there's also a really interesting article on the subject of flops, FLOPS, which kind of talks about this and the cost of computer memory and things like that. And you know, I've got a thumb drive home that has, I think, 256 gigabytes on it.
Wow.
And I know I've got some that are 128. 128 gigabytes is approximately a trillion bits. And at the price of the computer memory, when computers started really kind of rolling out, the price of a bit in those days was $1. So we're talking about something that would have cost $1 trillion back in 1960 or whatever it was. And today, 128 gigabytes is not expensive. You know, it might be over $10, but it's nothing. You know, it's nothing compared to $1 trillion.
Progress.
That's called progress. Well, it's called Wright's law at work.
Okay.
And the cost of EVs is going down slower than the cost of batteries, but the battery is the big part of the cost of the EV. The result of that is that the cost of the EVs are coming very close.
Well, battery prices are going down fast.
Yeah. Jenny Erberberg, by the way, is a marketing specialist and a photographer. And she loves her Tesla. So she, when she got it, she took a whole mess of pictures of the Tesla with her. And we've used a number of those pictures on Energy Week over the years, which is why you recognize her name, I think. Okay.
Take your word for it. We're up to Friday, December 15th.
We are indeed, and we have a picture of solar panels.
How clever.
Yeah, how clever. And I've just clicked the mouse twice, which meant that I had a double picture up there for a second. Okay.
It comes from China Daily, and the title is Solar Power Usage Shines Bright.
Yeah, it sure does. Try this out for size. China is expecting to add 160 to 180 gigawatts of solar power in 2023.
Gigawatts is gigawatts, buddy.
160 to 180 of those of solar power in 1 year. That's how much
That's
they're
a
putting.
lot.
It's a record rise in capacity. The China Photovoltaic Industry Association gave this information. For the first 10 months of the year, the output value of China's PV manufacturing section had already reached 142.56 gigawatts, a year-on-year increase. And this is the increase, is 156.
142.
Yeah, it's an increase of 156%.
142.56.
Yeah. What did I say?
You said it right there, but why didn't they just call it 142?
Or 143, or 142 and a half, or, yeah.
140 is good enough.
Why didn't they say 142.56, 80232?
I hear you.
You know, did you know that I know pi to 50 decimal points?
No, I didn't. What's the 47th?
I don't remember. But if I went through it, I could stop.
You can
It's
do
8.
it, huh?
The 147th is 8.
8, huh?
Yeah.
I'll take your word for it.
The 148th is 2, and the 149th is 1. The 150th is 1.
And you fill up your mind with useless information like that, huh?
I've used it.
Have you?
I have used that. Yeah. I used that.
That's cool.
And when I was in the ROTC, some wise guy sergeant said to me when I was a private, "What's the serial number on your gun?" And I said, "I don't know." You know the thing about guns, don't you, Tom?
I guess I don't. You're going to tell me.
Well, in the Army, and I was in Army ROTC, you don't have a gun. You have a rifle.
Okay.
A gun is one of two things. It's either a cannon that fires closer to level than a mortar or a howitzer does,
This is my rifle. This is my gun.
Don't go on. Don't stop it. Stop that. Okay. And the other use of gun is a machine gun or something like that. But we should go on. Okay.
Can't dance.
That's right. We can't dance.
There's another picture of. Are we ready for this? It's a wind turbine.
It's a wind turbine. That's right. And this is from Clean Technica. Surprise, surprise. What do you got for a title?
Wind miracle happening in the USA.
Offshore wind miracle happening. Yes, just for better or worse, the offshore wind profile in the United States has broken down along party political lines. However, one huge crack has finally appeared. Officials in the deep red state of Louisiana approved not one but 2 offshore wind farms in the Gulf of Mexico.
Well, with the continental shelf on the East Coast, we got room for enough wind turbines to power the whole country.
Yeah, that's true. And, you know, there's
none out there.
Yeah, and Louisiana, I don't know what to say here. That it's not just deep red, it's in an area where wind turbines are not as valuable off the coast of Louisiana as they are off the coast of New England or Virginia, North Carolina and so forth, because the winds down there are not as strong. But, you know, so we're seeing, and this was reflected actually today. There was an article about how Ontario is the government of Ontario, which has been profoundly anti-renewable, has decided to put in renewable energy and a fair amount of it. So we'll see how it all goes.
Encouraging.
Yeah. I'm just saying Louisiana isn't alone on that. Okay.
Moving right along.
We have a piece from Duke Energy.
A picture of a floating solar array.
That's what it is. Just think of all the fish sitting in the shade under that array.
Well, it comes to us from Duke Energy, so that's
right.
The title here. Yeah. Duke Energy completes its first floating solar project in Florida.
Yep. Duke Energy's first floating solar project in Florida is now producing clean, renewable energy while helping the company better understand the capabilities of innovative clean energy technologies. Why do they have to keep calling it clean, renewable energy? Because it's, you know, they're blowing their own horn. To benefit Florida communities and customers now and in the future. I think it's actually to benefit Duke Energy, to tell you the truth.
Well, floating solar makes sense because you're carrying the heat away from the solar.
Yeah,
and it's otherwise wasted space, and that's the big problem with solar panels is they take up space.
It takes up space, yeah. But you know, if it's put over if it's put on a roof, the roof was going to be there anyway.
Well, we've talked about a canal in the past with solar panels on it.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it does, and this makes sense for exactly the same reason. So, our next piece here.
Moving right along.
Is
you got a picture of an electric cargo bike, and you got to look at. I can't see where that's a cargo bike. I don't know.
It's called a cargo bike because it's designed.
Motor.
Yeah, well, the motor is probably in the hub. The motors on these bikes are not big.
Yeah, it'd be in the hub. You're right.
That lower support in front of the driver, between the driver's knees, is big, and there's probably a battery in that. And then on the back of the rear wheel, I believe there's another battery on each side of the wheel.
Yes, I think you're right.
So this is from Clean Technica. What do you have?
This electric cargo bike can go up to 248 miles per charge.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce this name. It's spelled F. Is it F-I-I-D-O? That's what it looks like to me.
That's what I have.
Okay. I'm going to call it the Fido Titan Fat Tire Electric Cargo Bike. It's available with an option that can allow for really long rides between charging up to 248 miles, which is remarkable for an e-bike. The
Yeah, that's a lot of miles.
That's a lot of miles, more than I can pedal in a day. The specs on the Titan are impressive. For starters, it's rated at 440 pounds of total carrying capacity.
Looking at this thing, and it's saying it's got to be small, heavy packages.
Yes, it's got to be. Well, yeah, that's basically what it is. I see cargo bikes around Brattleboro a lot, and usually they're something that you could put 2 kids on the back, and the parent can pedal them.
Well, in New York, when I was a kid, almost every small grocery store had a delivery bike.
Yeah.
It had one small wheel in the front with a very large basket on it.
Really big basket, I remember those. And you can still get those, as a matter of fact.
It was a useful bike because it carried an awful lot.
They carried an awful lot, and the kids who went out on those things got tips. So, you know, they did their work. Okay, our next picture is a picture of a Siemens
cell train.
Yeah, it's a hydrogen fuel cell train. So
we got trains that look like that already operating in Europe, but we're still back in the 1940s with what comes through Brattleboro.
Yeah. Well, I remember the trains that used to go through Brattleboro in the 1950s anyway. I don't know when the local trains around here switched from steam to diesel, but they did. And I remember, being on trains in the 1960s that would stop at Northfield, at the East Northfield station, which isn't even there anymore. So this is from Clean Technica. What do you got for a title?
More diesel-killing hydrogen fuel cell electric trains headed for Germany. Plus, India piles on.
Yeah. In September, the Siemens Mobility announced completion of the first round of testing for its Mirio Plus H hydrogen train. If all goes according to plan, fuel cell electric trains will begin ferrying passengers sometime next summer. Now,
yes, they're talking about Europe.
They're talking about Europe. Yeah, that's what it is. And we should mention for people so they understand. There's four basic different ways of operating a train using electricity. One of them is diesel, where you have a big diesel locomotive that has a diesel engine that is generating electricity, which is then applied to the wheels.
Right.
And then another one is to have the electricity not coming from a diesel engine, but coming from a third rail or an overhead wire or something like that.
Right. Same thing, going directly to the wheels.
Right. Then you've got trains that operate, very few of them, but they operate on an electric battery. And they just go on the battery.
Okay.
And this one is the fourth kind, which is the hydrogen fuel cell. And what they have there is a tank that carries hydrogen under a lot of pressure.
You missed one. There's another one where they power themselves from overhead lines.
Oh, I said lines running along, whether it's a third rail or overhead line.
Okay.
Yeah, but thank you for being careful about that. Yeah, this thing involves, it's a fuel cell, which means you've got a membrane between two volumes that contain things, and the membrane will allow hydrogen atoms to go through. Not molecules, but atoms.
Atoms.
And the atoms kind of reach through and grab a hold of an oxygen on the other side. And when two atoms do that, you get electricity as a result.
You got power, yeah.
That's right. And that electricity is tapped for the train. Now this means you have to have huge tanks, strong tanks to hold that hydrogen. So,
either that or carry it in the form of ammonia.
That's right. You could do it in the form of ammonia. Yeah. Although I'll tell you, I used to handle anhydrous ammonia, and it's not pleasant.
No, it's pretty stinky stuff.
It'll if you get into an atmosphere that's anhydrous ammonia, you've got to get out in seconds or you're going to die a painful death.
I'll try to remember that.
Yeah, well, it's not likely to happen around here. I worked in a chemical plant. Okay, we will go on if that's all right.
Let's move along. Looking at a picture of a Hyundai EV.
Yes, and this is from Clean Technica. What do you have for title?
U.S. battery electric vehicle sales up 143% over the third quarter of 2021.
That's a lot of growth.
Yeah, it is.
U.S. battery electric vehicle sales continue to grow by leaps and bounds, despite all the hype about weak electric vehicle demand and sales. And there's been a lot of that in the last couple of months.
It's the future, let's face it.
Yeah, they are actually strong and growing. Compared to Q3 of 2021, BEV sales, battery electric vehicle sales, in Q3 of 2023 are up 143%. Compared to Q3 of 2022, they're up 44%. So this is extremely strong growth, and there are people out there who really hate electric vehicles, and so they're trying to convince everybody that it's not growing at all, and there, people are moving away from them and so forth. And you have to be careful about what you're going to believe if you want to believe the truth, because there's a lot of stuff out there that isn't true.
Well, it's progress versus stranded assets.
Yeah, they're afraid of stranded assets and they don't want to progress. And that's not a good position to be in.
Not at all.
Okay, we have an item from Renew Economy, and this is a rather pleasant picture, I think.
This is from Sunday, December 17th.
That's right.
It's a picture of a wind farm in New South Wales.
That is absolutely correct.
How they know it's New South Wales is beyond me.
Well, I don't know. Maybe the NSW initials there told you.
That's a clue, huh? Comes to Renew Economy.
Yeah, which, by the way, is an Australian publication.
Yes. And it says, and I quote, energy shift in action, brown coal hits a new low in Victoria. Renewables hit a new high in New South Wales.
Yeah.
This is what's happening down under.
That's right. As the Australian Energy Market Operator unveiled its draft 2024 Integrated System Plan, Victoria and New South Wales set energy generation records, showing rapid shifts in Australia's energy landscape. In Victoria, brown coal hit a record low.
Well, brown coal is pretty dirty.
Now, maybe you can tell me. I think brown coal is the same as lignite, but do you know?
I think it is.
Yeah, okay.
It's awful close to it if it's not.
Yeah, it's lignite mines in Germany typically are what they do is they establish the mine and then they build the power plant that uses the coal from the mine at the edge of the mine, because the stuff is too junky to transport by train. Transporting it by train is just too expensive.
Uh-huh.
It's really bad. And there was a lignite mine. I don't know what the condition of it is, but it was after I started my blog, which was 2011. They announced that they were going to build a lignite mine in what used to be East Germany, very near the Polish border. And that mine was going to be 4 times the size of the island of Manhattan.
Wow.
This is an open pit mine. And they were
Size mine.
Yeah, and they had several medieval villages with medieval buildings in them that were going to be bulldozed.
Well, you used the past tense, so they weren't bulldozed, I guess.
I don't know. I don't know. That's what they were going to do. But we should probably go on. What do you think?
Can't dance. We got a funny-looking picture of a Volvo ship.
It's a Volvo ship. That's what it says.
And it is awful full of containers.
Yes, that's true. What do you have for a title? This is from Clean Technica.
Nations begin tightening the screws on Chinese electric car imports.
Yeah.
You're going to have to explain that one.
Well, let's read the synopsis. China has dozens of electric car makers who crank out EVs at an astonishing rate. But as China gets closer to meeting its own electric car needs, its car makers are looking around to export markets so they can keep
China
going.
makes a lot of cars.
A lot of cars. For some countries, China is seen as a threat to local industry, and those countries are reacting. So basically what they're doing is they're saying, we want to have, if you're going to buy an electric car, we want it to be bought from a local company if possible. So they,
Somebody other than the Chinese.
somebody other than the Chinese. And what have the Chinese
Well, the
done?
Chinese are eating up all the cars they can make, but that's going to stop.
Yeah.
Lots of cars going to have one. You know?
That's right.
And then these Chinese car makers are going to be looking for exports, so they're scared.
I think that's probably true, yeah. Okay, should we go on?
Can't dance.
You've said that 4 times in this show. Okay, we have wind turbines in a picture. I thought this
This
was,
was from Electrek.
yeah, that's what it is.
Here's the title. Here's how wind farms in the U.S. impact nearby home values. This is interesting.
Yeah. A study by Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory examined a data set of 500,000 home sales near 428 wind farms in 34 states. It found that for homes sale prices within a mile of the wind farm, 1 mile, they tend to dip post-announcement, not by much, but they do dip. But they bounce back to what they had been within 3 to 5 years of the project completion.
Well, Vermont people are talking about that dip, but they don't mention that they bounce back.
They're going to make it sound like they never bounce back. And
exactly.
We've talked about a similar study that was done by Lawrence Berkeley. I think it was also done by Lawrence Berkeley, but it was done by that organization plus the University of Connecticut, and it was just for Massachusetts, and it was paid for by the state of Massachusetts, and they looked into more depth on a data set that was only a quarter as big, and they found basically the same thing. There's a lot of basic lack of understanding that accompanies the new announcement, and that causes the prices to go down. But
well, the people that own the homes are finding out that these things they can't even hear them in their homes.
And the taxes go down.
That's helpful.
Yeah. And, I talked to people over by Sheffield. I talked to somebody who is involved with the town government. That town has a very small population, and that those wind turbines are paying the town almost a quarter of what it needs to run the town. So.
Hey.
What's that?
That ain't hay.
No, it's not. It is not. Now, this next story.
Monday, December 18th.
We are up to Monday, December 18th, and we have an item from WV News, WV being West Virginia, and a picture of a Form Energy battery installation, and beyond it is a solar array.
So the energy installation is those white things.
That's right, and it's a battery.
Yeah.
What do you have for a title?
Form Energy, I quote Form Energy, name of the company.
Yeah.
To supply storage batteries for California solar project.
Right. A Form Energy plant in Weirton, West Virginia, will supply iron oxide batteries iron oxide? What's that? It's rust.
That's a new plant in West Virginia because that was coal mining country.
Yeah. They needed jobs there for a PG&E electric storage project in Mendocino County. A grant of $30 million will support the project to use Form iron air batteries to store electricity it can discharge at 10 megawatts for 100 hours. Now, since
that's significant.
it is, since I saw this article, I found a different article that said it wasn't 10 megawatts for 100 hours, it was 5 megawatts for 100 hours. So
It's still significant.
it's still significant, and that 100 hours thing means that you could discharge this battery at full capacity for 100 hours straight.
That's significant.
It is. It's big. And what that means is that if you had a bad week on solar, and you had a big, you were, a town that was dependent on solar and battery,
You're still in business.
you would still be in business after a bad week for solar power. So anyway, we should go on. And this is a picture of a young man who is working on a very small wind turbine. and the
Yeah, it looks kind of small, doesn't it?
I think that might be as small as half a kilowatt. I don't know, but they do make things that size.
Oh, yeah.
From Echo Business. And by the way, those things are noisy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just make a lot of noise.
It's a toy.
Well, yeah, and it sounds like a toy. I went with my daughter to a restaurant at a marina in Salem, Massachusetts, and it was summer, and we were in an outdoor dining area, and they were in the marina, and there was a boat, probably not more than 100 feet from us, that had a little wind turbine the size of this, and you could hear that thing constantly.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't really annoying. It was just going, whoosh, but it was doing that. So what do you have?
It was on a boat. It was for providing power for a boat.
It was providing electricity for the boat. Yeah. Okay, what do you have for a title?
Why China didn't sign a global pledge to triple renewables.
Yeah, China Dialogue asked experts why China, despite being a world leader in renewables, had not signed a global commitment to triple renewable energy capacity and double energy efficiency by 2030. They said tripling renewables is achievable, but doubling efficiency is a sticking point.
Doubling efficiency is a lot.
It's a lot, and the Chinese have not geared up to do that. They've geared up to make renewables. So, I'm not going to fault them for not signing. In fact, considering that the thing was not, it was not, they could sign it and then fail to make it, and there was no penalty. I think it was honest for them to do that. So they did something that I think was the honest thing to do. Speaking of China, here we have a picture of yurts in Inner Mongolia.
Looks like yurts to me.
Yep. Inner Mongolia, for those who don't know, is not in Mongolia, it's in China. So, and this is from...
I didn't realize that either.
Well, you've heard the term Outer Mongolia.
Yes.
That's the country of Mongolia.
That's Mongolia. So Inner Mongolia is a part of China.
It's in China. That's why it's called Inner Mongolia. And anyway, this is from Yikai Global, which...
The first batch of wind power projects in Inner Mongolia's Gobi Desert come on stream.
Yep. The first batch of 4 wind power projects in Inner Mongolia's autonomous regions. Inner Mongolia is a Chinese autonomous region. In the Inner Mongolia autonomous region's Gobi Desert have come on stream. The area is rich in solar and wind energy resources. The installed capacity of the 4 projects is to be 3.1 million kilowatts, which is the same as 3.1 gigawatts. So this is a pretty big project.
Well, deserts tend to have a high degree of solar and wind energy resources.
Yeah. Are you asking a question or?
It's a point. Solar region.
Oh yeah, they've got the resources. And they're not going to use these things in these yurts, although I noticed looking closely at the yurts, I noticed that one of them had a very, very big TV dish outside. It looks like it's probably more than 6 feet across. That one on the left, there's a truck to the left of the yurt, and right between them is a TV dish, a dish antenna. So they're using electricity, and I don't know where they're getting the electricity from, but that's what they're doing. But 3.1 gigawatts, I think, is going to be more than Mongolia can use, more than the Mongolian Autonomous Region can use. I mean, that's a lot of electricity, and how many people are living in Inner Mongolia?
I don't imagine too many.
Probably not. Okay, we're up to Tuesday, December 19th, and we've got a picture here of a ceramic thing that they're comparing to a brain. I don't compare it to a brain, but this is from Clean Technica.
So it's a component of a battery.
Yeah, it's a component of a battery. That's right. And it's
It
a
comes
solid
with
state
Clean
battery.
Technica.
Yeah. It's a solid state battery.
Yeah, solid state battery. New, which I'm about to say.
Okay.
New solid state EV battery employs ceramic brain from Saint Gobain. Saint Gobain is a company.
Yes. And it's a very old company, by the way. It was
Picture
founded.
of the component that they're supplying.
Yeah. Saint Gobain, I forget when that company was founded, but it was before the year 1700.
Been around a long time, huh?
They've been around a long time. Merck has been around a long time, and a number of these companies have been around a long time. But I mentioned Merck because I used to work in the chemical business, and we had Merck chemicals that we worked with. This is from Clean Technica. U.S. startup Ion Storage Systems is getting ready to launch a solid-state EV battery into high-volume commercial manufacturing line with a little help of materials specialist Saint Gobain. If all goes well, it will charge faster, cost less, and be better in a bunch of ways.
Well, that's progress. That's what happens.
That's what happens with progress. That's right. That is what happens.
Right along.
Yeah, okay. We have a picture here of a wind turbine and sunflowers.
I'm glad you told me that.
Well, this doesn't make sense. If you had sunflowers, what kind of renewable energy would you have? You'd have solar energy, wouldn't you?
I would think.
You want to catch all the rays from those sunflowers. Okay, this is from Business Standard, which is a lot smarter than I am.
7 European countries pledge a CO2-free power system by 2035. Now, that sounds significant, but I think it's very easy to happen.
I think it will, yeah, easily. Austria, Belgium, France, Germany, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, and Switzerland. The first 4 are EU countries, and Switzerland is not. Pledged to eliminate CO2-emitting power plants from their electric systems by 2035. Taken together, the countries account for nearly half of European Union power production. So that, I think, is significant.
I think it is. It makes sense, too.
And not only that, but if they do it, probably some other countries will do it, too. You notice that Portugal is not in that group. And Portugal has gone through periods of almost a week when it used no fossil fuels to generate electricity at all.
We've talked about that, haven't we?
We have, yeah. And Spain, they're at about 50%. So, I think other countries will come along. We'll just have to see how it goes. Okay.
That's in South America, too.
Yeah. I mean, we're just talking about the EU there.
Yep.
Okay, we have a picture of a truck. And that
Looks like a truck to me.
That bridge...
Very interesting bridge.
That, I think, is in Boston.
I think it is. They got a bridge like that, a cable stay bridge.
Yeah, that's right. And the truck is called, the company is called Wind Waste Innovations, and I think they're in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Well, they certainly could be.
Yeah. What do you got for title?
Wind waste uses refuse collected by Mack EVs to power trucks.
Yes, this is from an organization called NGT News. I don't know anything about them. Mack Trucks, customer Wind Waste Innovations, a leader in the recycling and waste industry, received 2 Mack LR electric Class 8 refuse vehicles.
You used to call them garbage trucks.
Yeah. And, well, you know, they've got Class 8 means that it's of a certain weight. And garbage trucks could be Class 8 or they could be some other class. But Class 8, I think, is the largest trucks that you're likely to see on the road in a normal town or city.
Looks like a pretty good-sized truck.
Yeah. It is to be the first company in Massachusetts to power electric trucks exclusively by waste collected by the trucks themselves.
That's interesting.
Isn't it? So obviously they've got a biodigester involved in this scheme, and they've got they're going to be cleaning up the methane that comes from the biodigester and using that, compressing it so that it's like liquefied natural gas.
So they're not purchasing fuel. They're using their own fuel.
That's right. That is right. Actually, they're going to be using. I'm sorry, when I said biodigester, I was wrong. These are electric trucks. They would be possibly, what would they do, Tom? They'd probably be, they could operate fuel cells from hydrogen. They're making hydrogen, probably.
That would work.
Yeah, I forgot what I read from this. All right, but, you know, there it is. Okay, our next item.
Electric trucks exclusively by the waste collected by the trucks themselves.
Yes, that's right. That's
Makes
what they're
sense.
doing. Yeah, if you can do it, and they've obviously got a way to do it. We are up to Wednesday, December 20th, which was yesterday, and we have an item from Canary Media.
And a picture of a trolley car.
That's absolutely right. We have a picture of a trolley car running through Lisbon. And, you know, I went looking for a picture, and I found, I just said Portugal. And they gave me this as a picture of Lisbon, and I thought, that's kind of an intriguing picture.
Yeah, it's a nice picture.
Yeah. So what do you have for title?
5 lessons from Portugal's 6-day renewable streak.
Yep. Years of renewables development set Portugal up for a stunning success this fall when the country met all of its electricity needs with renewable resources for 6 days straight.
That's significant.
Yeah, it is. So the grid can run on 100% renewables, but what else needs to happen to go from 6 days of clean energy to 365? And of course, the article deals with that. And there are things that you have to address, and they include things like energy storage. And if you're going to do renewables only for a country, for most countries, it's probably going to be a good idea to have a number of different resources. So you'd have.
You're going to need to store the energy because the sun doesn't always shine.
Yeah,
the
that's
wind
true.
doesn't always blow.
Yeah, but you know that battery we were talking about from Forum Energy Systems, they're talking about the cost of the equipment that is needed to store a kilowatt of electricity is something slightly in excess of $20, where the cheapest you could get elsewhere is like $85, and that's down from $200 just a few years ago. So the prices of these batteries just fall and fall and fall.
Yeah, that's called progress.
That is. That thing of Forum Energy, by the way, the big problem with that battery, I should say a big problem with the battery, is that it occupies a lot of space. So it's
that's changing too.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to store electricity. It's crazy. So, you know. Anyway, should we leave this quaint scene in Portugal and go to something else?
I think we can.
Okay. Here is
Picture of a base of a floating turbine.
yeah, and it says wind floater right on the side of that thing. And to give you an idea, at the top of that yellow thing is a railing, and that railing is a standard kind of human-sized railing, so workmen don't walk off the edge. You know.
So you can see how big this thing is.
Yeah, you can see this is not small, but I think that the turbine on it is not, it's not huge. But what do you? This is from Yahoo Finance. What do you have for title?
Global floating wind turbine market size is estimated to reach $54,704 million by 2030.
Yeah, I wish they would use the.
Think that high.
Yeah, I wish they would say that as $54.7 billion. It's easier.
That would be easier to understand.
Yeah, it would be. Although I'll tell you.
They round it off to 55.
Yeah, I can understand $55 billion real easy, but you make it 75 cents and I'm scratching my head. Did I ever tell you about my invention, Tom?
I think you did, but you're going to tell us again.
I think I should, to explain. I invented software and hardware to represent ideas, words, as basically numbers. So a 128-bit number would represent an idea. You know, if you have the word lion, for example, it is a 128-bit number that represents it, or congressman, or whatever. And the system tested well. It got patented. Nobody really wants it, apparently, but nevertheless, I can represent any word and many phrases as a number, 128-bit number.
Okay.
And I tell people I can do that, but if you put a dollar sign in front of a number, it has no meaning for me. Okay, so there I am. I'm a very bright guy, but I'm not rich, or something. If you're so bright, why aren't you rich? People ask, and that's, you know, the reason, because. Okay, we are up to the last item that we've got in this show, and
it looks like a Walmart electric semi.
Yeah, it says right on it Walmart, and it says right on it 100% electric, and that white thing that it says 100% electric on.
That's the battery.
That's the battery, at least the one that is below the cab. The one behind the cab where Echo Electric is vertical. I don't know why that's there. That might be more of the battery. I don't know.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it, doesn't it?
Yeah. And this is from Clean Technica. We've had a lot from Clean Technica this week.
Walmart starts its electric semi-truck transformation.
Yep. Walmart Canada is rolling out 3 electric semi-trucks at a grocery distribution center in British Columbia. It will use the Freightliner e-Cascadia electric semis. Each truck, will travel about 110,000 kilometers, which is 68,350 miles each year. Walmart intends to electrify 100% of its fleet.
That's interesting, 100%.
Yes. Well, you know, the people at Walmart are not stupid, or at least not when it comes to making money. And what they've got here is they've got they look at things and they ask themselves, what are the dollars and cents of this thing? You know, they might not be able to invent something that'll represent an idea as a number, but you put a dollar sign in front of a number and it has meaning for them.
I'm looking at that picture again. There's 2 batteries on that truck.
Okay.
And one of them's vertical, behind the cab.
That's the one that I had asked about.
Okay, and there's another one underneath it on the bottom.
That's right, yeah.
The wheels.
Anyway, the people at Walmart are looking at this and saying to themselves, we've got these electric vehicles, what are we going to do? And what they're looking at, I believe, is not just today. What is the cheapest thing today? What is the best thing today? And I don't think they're driven heavily or certainly not exclusively by problems of pollution and climate change. But what they are looking at is, what is this going to be like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and so forth. And I look at gasoline and diesel availability, and I think that 10 years from now, diesel and gasoline might be very difficult to get a hold of. So
They're certainly going to be more expensive than they are now.
Oh yeah, but you know, I mean, think about when cars were being made in the 1950s. They were being made for tetraethyl lead to go into the gasoline.
Yep.
And somebody figured out that that was doing a lot of damage to a lot of people. And so the Congress of the United States eventually passed a law against the use of tetraethyl lead, and the president, whoever was president, it might have been Nixon, signed it. And it became law, and then the car companies abandoned engines that required tetraethyl lead, and they kept tetraethyl lead in gas pumps in local stations, but it got harder and harder and harder to get. And when I bought my Prius in 2001, there was a thing in the user's manual that said, don't use tetraethyl lead.
No kidding.
But by that time, yeah, well, tetraethyl lead is really bad in a car that has a catalytic converter in it.
Uh-huh.
And when I looked around Brattleboro, and at that time, I don't think there was anybody who was, it may have been a couple of years later, I don't think anybody was carrying gasoline with tetraethyl lead. And in fact, there was a point where I realized the only way you could get tetraethyl lead was to go to the airport in Keene and buy it there.
I'll be darned.
Now, what happens when that happens with ordinary gasoline? So you have to go to Keene to get your tank filled.
That doesn't sound too efficient to me.
No, it doesn't. And you know, that is an extreme example, but we're gonna be getting into a situation. Just look around Brattleboro, and you can see there are a bunch of places in Brattleboro where there are I look at them. One of them is that whatever it is that's on the corner of Elliott and Green Streets, which was and maybe still is a cleaning, dry cleaning place. It was a dry cleaning place. That had been a Brattleboro. That had been a gas station, and there are other places in Brattleboro where there were gas stations that are not there anymore. So, anyway, we are at the end of our presentation here, and I want to give everybody the last word, which is have an inexpressibly worthwhile week. I am waving. Tom is waving. Tom's cat.
And the cat isn't here.
Tom's cat. I know where the cat is. It's under the bed, and it's waving, but it doesn't. You know, what can you say? So.
He's probably sitting on a rocking chair in the living room. He likes the chair.
Yeah, well, he's probably waving.
There isn't enough room under the bed.
Not a bad cat.